Hello, my name is Sally Pinto, and I'm the Program Director for the Yonkers NORC, Neighborhood Naturally Occurring Retirement Community. We serve seniors 60 plus in Northeast Yonkers. We are under the auspices of WJCS and the Yonkers Office for the Aging. We also have a resource specialist and a nurse on staff. We conduct virtual programming in partnership with the Yonkers Public Library on a daily basis. Enjoy the program.
I'll adjust as needed.
Okay. All right. So, so please take it away.
All right. So thanks everyone for your patience. Sorry, I was late this morning. My Zoom was just being funny. So I recognize a lot of the names. So you probably know me already, but I'm Shannon if you don't. So we're just gonna get started sitting in our chair. And you can support yourself any way that you want. I always have like a pillow behind me on my chair, actually, to just give myself a little extra lumbar support. And you can allow your hands to rest on tops of the legs. Palms can stay face up or face down. You can start to close your eyes or just soften through your gaze. Start to soften the shoulders away from your ears. Relaxing the jaw and the muscles of the face. Wiggling the toes a little bit. Wiggling the fingers a little bit. Just allowing your body to settle. Observing the parts of your body that are connected with your chair. Allowing those parts to really just soften into the chair, almost as if it's becoming one with the chair. You might feel your feet gently resting on the floor. Just allowing the bottoms of the feet to just gently melt into the floor. Beginning to notice the breath. Observing the inhales and the exhales. Begin to feel as if there's a string at the top of your head, and it's just gently trying to extend the spine, to lengthen the spine, to allow your whole body to just grow a little taller. As you do that, make sure that your shoulders and your jaw don't come along with it. Relax the shoulders, release them away from the ears, release the jaw. You might even wiggle it a little bit. And let's take about 3 more powerful rounds of breaths here. After that 3rd round of breath, go ahead and just notice where your hands are at. So if your palms were facing down on your legs, just go ahead and flip them the other way. And if they were opening up to the sky, then just gently ground the bottoms of the hands to the legs. Still feel as if you're growing really tall through the spine, extending and lengthening. And then allow your chin to drop to your chest. And as you feel your chin drop to your chest, roll the shoulder heads back a little bit, like you're trying to create just a little bit of resistance. And just start to gently roll the chin across the chest. Now you can do this with your eyes closed or with your eyes open. Whatever feels better on your body. Then as you start to bring the right ear to the right shoulder, just pause. Allow the head to be really heavy here. So we're not trying to force it down, you're just letting it be nice and heavy. If you feel at any point like you're gripping anywhere, so maybe it's happening in the neck or even just happening in your chair in some way, and see if you can kind of wiggle around and soften a little bit. Always bringing yourself back to your inhales and your exhales. Just one more breath here. And then let the chin roll back across the center of the chest, bringing your left ear to your left shoulder. And you're just allowing the head to be nice and heavy. Resisting any sensation that you want to press yourself deeper or activate a little longer, and just really allow the edges to soften, whatever those edges are, wherever they're coming up for you. One more breath here. And then allow the chin to fall back to the center of the chest. And keep the chin to the center of the chest and just begin to gently roll the shoulder heads back. And then gently roll them forward. Nice and slow, start to lift your head up. And again, roll the shoulder heads forward and back. So it's a really subtle difference. But we're just releasing all of those little tiny muscles in a little bit of a different way. All right, let's wiggle the fingers. If you need to squiggle and wiggle around in your chair at any point, that's perfect. Always listen to your body. And let's let the fingertips dangle by the side. And just start to reach your arms all the way up to the sky. Stretch it nice and tall. And you might even interlace your hands and turn your palms up to the sky. And just really feel like you just rolled out of bed. You're really trying to find a little bit of space between the shoulder blades. It doesn't, your fingertips can also just reach up. Just getting a nice stretch between the ribs. And then release the arms down. You can always do a little wiggle with the arms. And bring the hands back to the tops of your legs. We're going to start to round the spine. So allow the chin to come to the chest, but this time let the spine come with it. So feel like you're trying to create just a little bit of space between each vertebra of the spine. Into a cat pose. And then start to reach the heart forward. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. You might even bring your gaze up to the sky, coming into a cow pose. So let's begin to connect that breath to the movement. So as you inhale, exhale, you'll round the spine. And as you inhale, open up the heart. And when your breath finishes, that's your cue to go the other direction. Just a couple more rounds of this spinal movement. Just moving with your breath. It doesn't matter how long it takes. It doesn't matter how slow or fast you're moving. Just listening to your body and your breath this morning. Rinsing out your sleep. Starting to finish up your last one and bring yourself back to a neutral spine. And again, any kind of movement to go side to side, just to kind of rinse out all of that motion. So let's start to bring our palms together and just interlace your hands. I'm just going to loosen up those wrists a little bit. So just start to take little circles with the hands. A little closer if you can't see. Kind of loosening up those wrist joints a little bit. You might even start to turn this into a figure 8. Always connecting with your breath. So even though we're not moving, breath connecting breath and movement here, we still want to ensure that we're focusing on that breath to allow us to create the most space that we can this morning. And then start to release that, wiggle the fingers. And let's pause from the upper body for a moment. And just start to extend your right leg out. So if you see me moving around, I'm just turning so that you can see me well in my small living room. So you're gonna just extend the leg out. So you're like straightening the leg and flex the foot so the heel is on the floor. So you might even scoot a little ahead, a little forward on your chair. And just start to flex and point the foot. So when you flex the foot, you're targeting the back of the leg a little bit more. And when you point the foot, you're getting a little bit more of the front of the ankle. Really just loosening up these joints that we don't necessarily pay attention to a lot, but we use them a lot. And then just switch legs. So you're just gonna straighten the leg and you're just setting it up in a way that you can easily point and flex the foot without having to work too hard, because you don't want to like keep the leg elevated as you do that. That's a lot of work. Just make sure that the foot can gently just rest on the floor. And then bend the leg and just kind of like stomp out the feet. If you're in an apartment, just make sure you're not like angering the people below you. So just kind of like shake them out, wiggle them out. And start to cross your right ankle on top of your left knee. So that you might kind of bring it into the chest first, feel a little lift, and then just gently start to cross it over. And then we're gonna roll out the ankle again here. And roll it the other way. And then just allow the foot to relax. It doesn't matter if your knee is up really high or if it's releasing to the floor. And if it feels really hard to hold here, you can always uncross the leg a little bit, and then you might even straighten the left leg a little bit more. So walk the left foot forward, and that actually lets the knee relax a little bit more. So if you come to my yin class, I talk a lot about just kind of playing around a little bit, and I want you to do that a little bit here. You're kind of playing with the positioning of both sides until you find a place where you can start to feel as if the muscles are relaxing a little bit more. And you can always keep holding onto the foot. You don't have to let it go, because it's going to create even more resistance. We're just taking a couple of breaths here. Softening the shoulders, softening the jaw. And you can stay right here, or just slowly start to lean a little forward. So hinging from the hips. And just shifting your upper body a little forward. The puppy's trying to be the star of the show. And it doesn't matter how far you go, it's just changing the sensation. And if it at any point gets too much, to keep the foot on the leg and even extend the bottom leg out, just gently uncross it and just lean a little forward. A fun way to kind of still get that outer hip, if you don't want to cross the leg anymore, is just to, as you fall forward, lean a little bit more towards the left leg, the opposite leg. It'll be a more subtle stretch, but it will still kind of target a little bit of what we're doing when your leg is bent as opposed to on the ground. in that figure 4 as opposed to on the ground. Your neck and head can be in a neutral position, or you can let it go. You might have a little activation in the feet just to make sure that you don't fall all the way over, but otherwise try to soften into this as much as you can. And just take one more breath. And as if you're moving in slow motion, you're going to slowly start to bring yourself all the way up, really lengthen the spine, and gently allow that right foot to find the floor again. And let's find a couple of cat-cows here before we shift to the other side. So let's neutralize out the spine. So neutralizing just means like moving in both directions can help us neutralize it, bring it back to a more comfortable center of gravity. And then just start to lift the left foot off the floor. And this could feel like a lot. It's a lot of action of the hip flexor. And start to bring the ankle onto the the right knee. And again, you can hold the foot. Let's roll out the ankle a little bit, wiggle the toes. And again, you can adjust the bottom leg, so the leg that's holding up your ankle, and maybe slide it a little more forward, and that will help kind of relax the leg a little bit more. And of course, you also have the option to just bring the foot all the way down. It's always just like a little bit of a play. One more breath, still sitting upright. And just start to fold a little forward. Your sides will likely feel different. And if you don't want the leg crossed, then you can always place the foot on the floor. And as you come into that hinge, just lean a little bit to the right. Ooh, excuse me. Hey. And gently just start to lift yourself up and across the leg. And you can roll out the ankles, move through a little bit of that cat-cow. Maybe even just a little rock from side to side. Okay. And then just start to roll the shoulder heads back a little bit. So we're finding a lot of the same movements. We're just kind of observing how we're loosening up and letting go as we move through them. And let's reach the arms all the way up to the sky. And they don't have to touch. They can just kind of dangle in the air, but just take a lean over to the right. So you can even let the right hand come down. And if you have an armrest on your chair, you can lean into that armrest and just feel as if you're really trying to create space between the ribs. So into the breath, into the lungs, as you reach and stretch. Nice and slow, bring yourself all the way up, and let's take it to the other side. And then gently release. And then let's take just a couple of leans from side to side without the arms. So almost taking just that same motion. But without keeping the arms involved. Because sometimes we can get really distracted by the arms. And really, I just want you to create some more space for your lungs and your rib cage here. And let's just take a couple more. And then again, you can always rinse it out with a little cat-cow. You can't do too many cats and cows. So just notice yourself sitting up straight. So kind of just realign yourself, resettle yourself. Allow the feet to stay flat on the floor. And you might even scoot just like a little bit forward on your chair. You're going to keep the knees bent. So you don't need to see my feet here. You're just going to keep the knees bent and then just gently lift one knee, 1 foot up off of the floor. And then release it. And then lift the other knee. And release it. So what's happening as we do this little march, and you can keep moving from side to side, is we're just activating our hip flexor muscles. So it doesn't matter how high your foot lifts. If it lifts like a 0.5 centimeter, it's activating the hip flexor muscle. If it lifts 3 inches, it's activating the hip flexor muscle. These muscles can just get weak from our sitting and our walking. And it feels like a lot of work sometimes to try to do these things to strengthen it. So we're just in this little march. And notice where the movement is coming from. So when you first start, you might feel really focused on just lifting the feet. So as we keep doing this march, can you start to feel like the movement is actually coming right from the hip crease? So you're not focused on lifting the foot so much as you're focused on shortening the distance between the thigh and your torso. Again, it doesn't matter how high you lift. Doesn't matter if you stay at the same lift every time. Just focusing on that march of activating these hip flexors. Just take a couple more. Remember, come back to that movement. Feel that movement really happening at the hip crease. Evening out the sides. And then stop the march and just pause. Let your hands rest wherever they want to. Maybe they're on tops of the legs. Maybe they're just dangling. And then see if you can soften the muscles at the hip crease. So you might feel like they're really activated right now. They're really on fire because they were just working really hard. And can you let that go a little bit? They're still in flexion, so you're still sitting. They're not totally relaxed, but can you even just 1% more release it? Take a deep breath here. So you can, again, if you scoot it a little forward on your chair, you can stay there, or you can pull yourself back a little bit. And then just start to walk your hands over to the right. So we're starting to twist through the spine. So if you have an arm on your chair, you can totally use the arm, or you can use your leg. Another option, if you really want the support of the chair to get you there, it's just going to be harder for me to show this, but you can turn so that your right side of the body is towards the back of the chair and actually hold on to the back of the chair to come into that. If you have bars where the arm is, this one's not going to be helpful just because you're not going to be able to really get into it that deep. But if you don't have arms on your chair, then feel free to turn yourself and use the back of the chair. Use what you've got. We're focusing more on coming into the stretch, coming into the rinse out sensation than trying to be really active through our movement in this twist. All of these things that we're doing, the movement of the spine, the finger, the hands, the legs, just even just rolling out the ankles and giving a little point and flex and rinsing out and stretching is really good for just if you're sitting a lot, no matter where you're sitting. If you travel, if you're in the car, on airplanes, I always do stretches like this when I'm on an airplane. Just try not to hit the person next to you. But these are all great things to do to just kind of keep that blood flow fresh and moving in your body when you're being really stagnant. Just one more breath to the side. And just start to bring yourself back to the middle, and we'll go right over to the other side. So if you have your right side towards the back of the chair, just go ahead and turn yourself around. If you're using your leg or your arm, just go ahead and rotate the spine to the left. Always bringing yourself back to your breath. last breath here. Then slowly start to come back to the middle. And again, any movement you want. And then we've been sitting forever now. So let's actually stand up. We're going to use the chair for support though. So go ahead and stand up. And you can just come so that the chair is you're behind the chair. So you're going to use the back of the chair for support. I don't need to see my head, it's fine. So when you first kind of stand up, you might just like wiggle around, wiggle it out, kind of whatever is happening from just like being in that seated position for so long. And then using the chair for support, you're just going to start to lift your heels up off of the floor. So it doesn't matter how high they lift. You're just starting to feel them lift. You're not holding it either. You're just lifting a little bit and then lowering. And you might just do one at a time. So maybe you're just lifting the right heel and then lowering it down. Lifting the left heel and then lowering it down. Just transferring the weight a little bit, shifting the weight into different parts of the foot that we all want to be strong. Just if you're doing side to side, just do one more of each side. And then let it go. And you might even kind of kick the foot out and rinse it out and shake it out. And then we'll do one more thing standing here. So shift the weight into your right foot. And then just start to lift your left heel off the floor. And you might even lift the whole foot off the floor and just kind of let it float. So really feeling your right foot root into the floor. So whether your toes or your left toes are on the ground or the foot is all the way off of the floor, feel your right foot rooting down and then also really using the chair to support you. And if you feel too wibbly wobbly, just lower the foot a little bit more and add a little bit more support. Even if you keep both feet on the ground, if lifting them is just too much this morning, just feel like you're shifting more of the weight into the right foot. So feel as if your right foot is trying to get a little heavier. It might feel like a little weird at first to find that, but you can totally do that. And then if your foot is lifted, lower it down. Shake out, rinse out. And then we'll do the same on the other side. So just start to shift the weight into the left foot. So you might keep the foot on the floor completely and just feel the weight shift. Or you might lift the heel. Or you might lift the foot entirely. Use the chair for support. Use your breath, just one more, wherever you're at. And gently let it go, shake it out. Rinse it out. We'll stay standing, but we're gonna keep both feet flat on the ground now. And we'll move through a couple of those cat-cows, just like we did before, seated, except now we're standing. So again, use the back of your chair and just start to round your spine. You might even add a little bend and bounce into your knee. And then start to open your heart, look a little forward, feel the shoulder blades squeeze together. And do that a couple more times. So again, we're coming back to a lot of the same movement, but just meeting them in different ways and at different points in opening up the whole body. Just finishing up where you're at. And then start to pause. So kind of take any final wiggles that you want standing up. Maybe you take a couple of bounces with the knees, just kind of checking in, making sure everything is there and working. And we are going to do one more thing, but if you like to take Shavasana on the ground, I'll invite you to actually come on the ground right away. I'm going to stay in my chair today. You can also totally take Shavasana from the chair if it's hard to get up and down on the ground. So if you like to take Shavasana on the ground, go ahead and find a position on the ground. Otherwise, just come back to your chair. And again, when you get to wherever you're at, you can find a little movement. You always have to adjust to some new positions. And then you can do whatever you want with the legs. Just allow the shoulders to relax away from the ears. So this goes for wherever you're at, even if your back is connected to the floor. Make sure that your shoulders are kind of not staying scrunched up by your ears. And just start to bring your gaze over to the right shoulder. So just turning your head to the right. And then coming back to the middle and turning your head to the left. And come back to the middle. And if you're in your chair, you're just going to have your feet flat on the floor and just start to kind of roll a little bit forward, almost like you're trying to just curl yourself into a little ball. If you're on your back, you can start to hug your knees towards your chest, and you can even do one knee at a time. You're just giving yourself a little hug, get a little stretch at the low back here. If you're on the ground and you're holding one knee in, switch knees. If you're in your chair, maybe you just kind of play with shortening the distance between your thighs and your chest. Doesn't matter how far it is. It's really just about focusing on rounding the spine and specifically finding just a little bit more pull, a gentle pull in the lower back. And then start to release the legs, or slowly start to bring yourself all the way up. Any final movement here, any final breath or wiggles that you want. Allowing your body to start to melt into the floor or melt into the chair. If you're in the chair, try to maybe even lean back a little bit more. So you're still feeling the connection with the ground or the chair, but then really just allowing those parts that are connected to just really sink in. Allowing your breath to slow. Allowing your jaw to release. Releasing the space between your eyebrows. In these last few minutes of class, in complete and total gratitude for your practice today. Shavasana. Start to observe your next breath. So feel your next breath move in and out. Wiggling your fingers. And just gently start to place one hand on your heart and place the other hand on top of that hand. Whether you're in your chair or on the ground. Breathe into that space, deep inhale. And deep exhale. Thanking yourself for making it your practice this morning, for your mind, your body, your breath, and most importantly, yourself. Namaste.
Hi, everyone. This is Z from Yonkers Public Library. Thanks so much to Sally Pinto and Alexis from Newark. Thank you to our community partners, WJCS, the City of Yonkers Office for the Aging, Friends of Crestwood Library, and Yonkers Public Library for making this phenomenal partnership. And we thank each and every one of you for being part of our wellness community. Be well, stay well.